Hi, welcome to Tactical OP and Neo's Handguns and Reloading. I'm OP, and there's Neo. Okay, in this video, we're going to be taking the lock and load AP press, and we're going to change it over to be able to install small primers. Okay, when I bought my press, and I bought it new, it came from the factory set up to install large primers. Okay, well, I only load 9mm and 40 Smith & Wesson, so I need to be set up for the small primers. Or possibly if you bought your press used, you may want to do this check as well. And I don't know that the new presses actually come this way anymore, but this is the way they were when I bought mine. So here's what you need to check for. If you get your parts bag out, get this piece out. There'll be one in the bag and probably one on your press. Okay, look and see this hole here, which piece has a smaller hole in it. Okay, and like I said, one may be on your press right now, so you may have to come over here and take a look right here, and you will see the primer shuttle. This piece will be laying in here like that. Let me get over the top, maybe you can see a little better. Okay, that's it right there. I'll move it in and out so you can kind of see that piece right there. Okay, so you want to look and see if you've already got the one that has a smaller diameter hole in it in your press, then you're good to go for anything that requires small primers. If you bought your press used and it doesn't have a shuttle in it at all, everything's in your parts bag, or if you bought it new and it did come as mine did, with the large primer shuttle and large primer cedar punch installed in it, then you'll need to swap it over to do 9 and 40. Okay, so let's look at the two primer shuttles, compare the holes. Okay, grab your smaller one, and we're going to set that over here by the press. We're going to install that on the press in a second. Do the same with your primer cedar punch. Look and see. You'll see a spring on one side of it. You can actually push the punch up through it. If you just set the spring side down on the table and push down on the hex of the cedar punch, you can actually see the pin come up. That pin, you need to go with the cedar punch that has the smaller pin. Here's the large one to compare it to. Quite a bit different. So you can take these two pieces, your large primer shuttle, large primer cedar punch, put those back in your parts bag for now. And I want to position the camera and set mine up back like it was when I got it, so you can see the tear down, taking the large primer shuttle and large primer cedar punch out, and then we'll set it up for small primers. Okay, I've got my press transformed back over for large primers like it came out of the box. It's got the large primer shuttle in it now, and the large primer cedar punch, which is up under the shell plate here. Let me raise this up. You can see it right here. Okay, so I'll set that back up the way I got it out of the box, so we can do a change over here. A few other pieces we're going to need out of the box. Okay, there's a little plastic insert, black plastic insert. It's got a hole in the end of it, 3 legs on it. Okay, we need that. Fairly large pipe, maybe ½ inch, 5/8, something like that. It's got a sticker on it, a warning sticker. Okay, it's got threads inside one end of it. We need that pipe. Okay, and you'll find 4 small aluminum tubes inside there, 2 of which have little plastic inserts on the ends and keeper pins on the opposite end. Okay, those are tools, and you will not install those on the press. Okay, so you will need the smaller one of these if you need to hold them together where you can see on the end of them, take the smaller one and put it off to the side, because you're going to need that to pick up your primers out of your primer turner tray and load your primer tube that is on the press. So you will use that when you go to install primers. You take the other one, set it out of your way. That's to do the same thing with, but with large primers. Okay, now we got the other two tubes left. We need to do the same thing here. We need to find the smaller diameter tube, which is the one on the left there. We keep that out, and that will get installed on the press. And then we'll take the larger one, and I'll set it way over here with the other large primer tube. Okay, a few tools that you're going to need for this procedure, or that will actually help. 11mm or 7/16 will work too. End wrench. An L-pick, if you have it, works really great. We got to hook an eyelet in the end of a spring to attach it to the spring, and that works great for pulling the spring. Really hard to get, if you have fat fingers like me, it's really hard to get your fingers in to grab a hold of that spring without using some kind of tool. Okay, well, I want to position the camera around the other side of the press and set it up on a tripod where I can use two hands, and we can do this. Okay, first thing we want to do is change the primer cedar punch out. Okay, so grab your handle, cycle it all the way down, and leave the handle down. That way you can get to this thing. It'll stay up there. Okay, right here, I have the large primer cedar punch in here. I need to take this piece out, install the small primer cedar punch. Okay, 11mm or 7/16 wrench. And it's not very tight. Just break it loose and you can run it out with your fingers. Now, I will not lie, getting this thing started is sometimes a pain. And generally speaking, I do not get it first shot. So don't get overly frustrated. It's just the way it is. Okay, got the large primer cedar punch out. I've got the small primer cedar punch. Going to go right back in the same hole with it. Okay, that went is about as smooth as it ever does with me. Alright, run it in all the way with your fingers. Just snug it up a little bit with the wrench. Doesn't have to be very tight. Okay, we have now installed the small primer cedar punch. Okay, I want to let the shell plate back down. I'm going to raise the camera up higher so we can look down and you can see better what I'm doing when we change this primer shuttle out. Okay, now we're ready to change out this large primer shuttle and install the small primer shuttle. Okay, now it's easiest for me, and everybody may be different on this, but it's easiest for me to get this plate about mid-stroke, just before this roller here starts to hit the incline. When it does, it starts putting more tension on the spring that holds it in, makes it a little harder to work with that spring. So what I do here is I pull down on the handle until I get it where I want it, and then I just kind of lay up against the handle to hold it in place, or hold it with my forearm like that, or like this, to keep that stationary, so I can have both hands free to do this. Okay, this is what we're going to want to do. I'm going to move the camera again so we can see a little better. This spring right here. Okay, we're going to take this spring off of this pin. So we can see it around this side. Right here. Okay, this is where I was saying the L-pick works really good. Not necessarily for taking it off, but installing it. Okay, so I want to put my finger at the end of the primer shuttle right here to keep it from moving out any, and I'm going to lift that spring off there, and then I'm going to keep my finger under the shell plate, kind of holding that spring up, just kind of in line with the pin. That way it doesn't come unhooked from your base plate on your press here. Okay, we're going to slide, back this up a little bit. I'm going to slide the large primer shuttle out, grab our small primer shuttle, smooth side up, roll her toward the guide rod, slide it right back in its place, push your roller up against that, and this is typical spring coming off the plate. You push the roller up against the guide rod. Okay, now my spring just came off from the plate underneath, so let me show you where we need to rehook that. And probably best for me just to spin the camera all the way around here. Okay. This hole right here is where I need to hook that spring again. So do this one-handed. Might be a trick. I have to raise the plate a little bit, get my fat hand under there. There we go. Alright. It's now hanging in there again. Okay, I can bring the camera back around to where we were before I dropped that out of the plate. You can see the spring swinging now. Now, I'll try to keep more pressure on there and keep it in place. Now I'm going to push my primer shuttle back up against that rod again. I'm going to grab my L-pick. I'm going to hook into the spring, the eyelet in the end of the spring, and try to bring it right over onto that pin, which I'll end up blocking the camera somewhat for this process with my hand. Push it right on over into the groove, like so. There's a groove you'll see on the end of this pin, and the eyelet of that spring will fit right into it. Okay, so that's all there is to installing the primer shuttle. Alright, now let's grab the smaller of the two tubes that we laid out. Take a look at each end. One end, like this one, just has a regular cut on it, nothing special. The other end, you can see where it's been machined on the end. Okay, that end is going to go down. So have that end pointed down, and we're going to put it right inside of that threaded piece. You see right there. Feel it drop all the way down. It goes in, let's see, probably about 1.5 inches, 1.75 inches. Drops all the way in. You'll hear it bottom. Okay, that's your primer tube. Your primers will be inside that after you load it with your primer pickup tube. Okay, now we want the large tube that has threads on one end, inside one end, excuse me. Alright, you want that end down, and we're going to bring that over here. We're going to bring it right over the top of our primer tube. Bring it right on down, and we're going to screw that down onto that threaded piece there. This is the primer guard tube. So, and just finger tight. Don't have to crank on it. Okay, last step. Grab the plastic insert. It's got the 3 small ears on the bottom of it here. We're going to take that, go right over the top of this small tube. That small tube will fit right inside the hole in the end of this plastic insert. So we go right over the top. Those 3 ears will fit inside of your primer guard tube. Just kind of wiggle it to line up the top here and push down, and you'll know you got it when the ears are all the way in and you're flush across the top with the aluminum pipe. And that is it. Press is set up now to install small primers. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section. Give us a thumbs up if you like it, and thank you for watching.